present. I will call the Public Health and Safety Committee meeting for Monday, May 19th, 2025 to order. The first item on our agenda is to consider the approval or denial of various license applications. We do have two denial recommendations this evening. Our ordinance stipulates that folks recommended for denial have the right to address the committee and discuss items on the record that may be factually inaccurate or submit evidence of rehabilitation if they have it. The two licenses that were recommended for denial, if those folks are with us tonight, they'll be given the opportunity to come up and talk with the committee. The first one is Lindsay Adams, who had applied as a bartender operator and was recommended for denial. You have some information on that in the packet. Is Lindsay Adams with us this evening? I am. Okay, you can come up to the podium if you like. Just state your name and address for the record. And I guess talk with the committee about the record. I did see that you had submitted a letter as evidence of rehabilitation from a probation officer. Is that correct? And it looks like you've completed a number of programs. I guess if that evidence of rehabilitation was submitted after the denial notice, would that letter that was submitted, I guess, alter the recommendation for denial? Oh, okay. And so the chief just walked in, actually. Chief, we're just talking about the recommended license denial for Lindsay Adams. After the recommendation to deny, she had submitted a letter from, it looks like her probation and parole agent, indicating that she had completed a number of rehabilitative programs and had completed, I believe, 4 of the 5 years. Is that what 4 of the 5 years of those programs. Did you see that letter at all? You've not? Okay, and there's also a letter from the employer. Okay.
This is my first time. Oh, it's working.
Okay.
So I haven't seen it. I'd be more than happy to review it and look at what my recommendation would be at that point in time.
Okay. Did you want some extra time to do that? Should we defer on this one and then, or did you want to see it now? Okay. The city attorney will bring it over. Yep, city attorney will bring it over. Okay. And the capacity to which you would want to use the license is for retail, right? You're working at a retail establishment, not a bar?
Correct.
Okay. What are your thoughts, Chief, upon review?
Well, upon my quick review of the evidence of rehabilitation, I would find that Ms. Adams has been actively participating in her own rehabilitation, which is documented by her, I believe, parole agent or
Correct.
probation agent. And I appreciate her working and trying to improve your situation and continue with that. So I would find evidence of rehabilitation exists, but I would just also caution you or anybody else in that situation, which is these come up for renewal. And so anything consistent with the convictions that exist in here would have the potential to change that recommendation for renewal.
Okay. If, assuming that anything else is happening beyond what's already in the record, is that? Because they all renew on July 1st, right?
Right. So my advice to everyone is, don't get in trouble, don't break the law,
That's right.
continue to do well.
Do it right so it gets renewed, yes.
I think our position has always been, we encourage people to be gainfully employed and continue to make good decisions and do the things necessary. So I would say continue on that same path.
Sure. Okay. All right. And then, okay. And so then what we'll do is if we're going to reverse the recommendation, when we take the motion, we'll exempt anyone that's recommended for reversal, and then we'll take the batch separately. The other person who's recommended for denial who has the right to address the committee is Jamie Shoemaker. Is Jamie Shoemaker with us this evening? Jamie Shoemaker? Okay, let the record show she has not appeared. Is there interest from the committee to consider Lindsay Adams separate from the batch? Okay. So we have that request from Larson that we would take separate action on Lindsay Adams based on evidence of rehabilitation that was submitted and the chief's comments tonight. So with that, let's take the batch first. We also, in the batch, have a number of events, Armed Forces Day. We've got some pending recommendations for Class B beer and liquor licenses. The subcommittee met prior to this event and approved Class B licenses for the Monk Botanical Garden, for a new owner of the former Jalapenos Restaurant, now known as Los Compadres Mexican Restaurant, and for a new owner of Oz Nightclub, changing over to Emerald Nightclub. All of those were unanimously recommended for approval by the subcommittee. So with that, do we have a motion to accept or deny? Okay.
And then this also did include all of the 2025 establishment renewals. So that includes all the alcohol licenses, all of the establishment
Retail.
activities, yeah.
All the Class A
Yep,
retail, all
yep.
the Class B restaurants and taverns.
Yeah, and tavern.
Everyone's July
entertainment.
renewal is basically
Yep,
in there, so
that's
they've done all that
included on
vetting, so. Is there a motion to accept or deny licenses as recommended by staff with the exception of Lindsay Adams?
I'll make the motion.
We have that motion from Larson. Is there a second? Second from Lukens. Further discussion? Hearing none. Go ahead, Sarah.
So did you, did you mention the Truly's Eatery and Bar? That was the last one on the list. Did you also approve that recommendation?
Yep, that one is recommended for, let me just look at that one and see.
I can make a note of that. That was added to the memo because they had come forward and said that they had planned to do a conditional surrender. They have not come forward with that, so that'll be considered next month. And I wanted
We'll
to add
pull
it to
that.
the memo just in case they had shown up on Friday, but they did not.
So we'll pull Truly's then and consider that one at a later date. Thank you for catching that.
And I was going to say, I guess, because Truly's wasn't added to the list that you're approving, so it's just on that memo. So that full list, which is through our Evolve program, Truly's is not included on there.
Not on there, okay. So then, our motion is to accept or deny licenses as recommended by staff with the exception of Lindsay Adams that we will take separately. Members in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, opposed? None are opposed, that motion carries. Now, do we have a motion to approve the license of Lindsay Adams?
I also make that motion based on what I've heard from the chief.
Okay, we have a motion from Larson, second from Watson. Further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None are opposed, that is also approved. So thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
And talking with us. They will go to council, yes, in June. Yep. Okay, switch back to the agenda. So item number two.
Add to, sorry, I asked Cody to put the DOR on tap. It's a quarterly e-newsletter that the Department of Revenue Division of Alcohol Beverages puts out. It has great information for license holders as well as people who are granting licenses to establishments. So right now our plan is to include that quarterly at the Public Health and Safety Committee packet for you. It has information like this quarter was about all of the changes with the major overhaul they did last year. So
We
that
would
might be
love-
beneficial as, yeah.
We would love that as part of the report. So, yes, so we'll look forward to having that in the packets then, because that's an important educational piece. So, excellent. Excited to have those updates.
And then I will include that in the packet along with all licenses. then.
Sure,
Yeah, in
that is
part.
perfect. Love it. Thank you so much. So that concludes the license item. Item number 2 is discussion and possible action approving amendments to the special event policy and application regarding 400 block private event rentals. And I guess Cody or Caitlin, did you want to, set the stage for that?
Yeah, when we were reviewing the special event app with the city attorney and the Parks Department, we came across the clause in the special event application about that people could reserve a quarter of the 400 block for private events. And in speaking with the Parks Department, they don't do that. That's not their practice. It's really hard to kind of manage and enforce as well. And like the 400 block is not a great venue to have private events when you have the public right away all around it, right, coming up against it. So we looked at proposing this amendment, to the application, as well as taking out references to specific fees and instead just referring people to the fee schedule. So that way, if that gets changed, we don't have to keep bringing this application back in front of you each time.
I think that actually came into play when the 400 block was new, and it was contemplated that people would want to rent a section of it, possibly including the stage for weddings. I don't know if that's ever been done, or if people have, they would have the wedding on the stage and then cordon off a quadrant of the block for small receptions and that. I don't know if that idea never really took off, or they had some folks who wanted to utilize in the summertime the Grand Theater as the wedding venue and then have an outdoor reception of some kind, maybe on the block. I don't know that any of those have ever occurred, but I think when the block was new, they wanted to reserve the ability for people to do that. But if no one's taking advantage of that, it would make sense to remove the references. So the feedback from Parks is that they've not had any type of rental like that, fractional?
Very few people. And, they said, when people ask about it, they really try to stress that it's really hard to make that a private event space and kind of refer them to other options that they have.
Sure. Okay, what are your thoughts, committee? They're nodding. Okay. So is there a motion then to approve the request from staff to remove reference to segments of the block being available for private rental with the event application? Motion from Watson, is there a second? Second from Lukens, further discussion? Seeing none, members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None are opposed, that motion carries. Thank you for that. Item number 3 is the Tavern Activities Report for the month of April, which is in the packet. Anything notable on the report that you wanted to discuss with the committee, Chief?
Yeah, just a couple of things. First, you'll notice there's our partnership with the health department and looking at putting underage individuals into the bar under plainclothes supervision to see if a sale is going to be made. And I believe there's 3 taverns that sold to someone under 21. And I would just inform the committee that it's not a stump the chump. Like when they ask for identification, the individuals provide their identification that lists their real date of birth. And unfortunately, some bartenders sold to them anyway or didn't do the math correctly. And then lastly, you'll notice that there is an incident with M&R bar in which an extremely intoxicated individual walked out of the bar, fell, and suffered a traumatic brain injury as a result. That is a case that is still under investigation by our department to determine whether there's any culpability or legal issues that we need to address there.
Okay. Depending on the outcome of that, it may be helpful, I think, maybe to talk with the management over there about over-serving, a reminder of sorts. I see that we had at least one noise complaint from Aftershock. Again, it's getting to be summertime when people's windows are going to be open, and hopefully the owner has been trying to do better. It would be helpful, though, if they would, I guess, at least the sector patrol has been doing a good job of trying to maintain a presence there, just so that all those things coexist well together. They're in the middle of a neighborhood, and when things get a little loud, especially on nights when they have I guess this year added karaoke, that's when things seem to boil over. So once we get to summer, when, the people are more sensitive to that, I think if they could just keep an eye on that and just make sure that that's not a problem. The demerit point situation is concerning since two of them were at the same place. I guess, do you think periodically we find that it's necessary to send a letter out to all license holders reminding them? I think we have in the past had, a number of failures through one cycle of checks, and a letter went out to everyone saying, hey, just a reminder, this is a thing. And I think that segues into something that Cody and I were talking about right before the meeting is in the clerk's office, they've had some recent struggles with establishments failing to remember that they need to notify the clerk's office when they are intending to change locations. Or, like they need to keep the clerk in the loop so that their licensing is current with where they intend to operate and what their operations are going to be. And, it, I guess, leads me to think that maybe a letter needs to go out to all of our Class B license holders just saying, hey, seasonal reminder, compliance checks are happening, make sure you're checking, make sure that your license is not only up to date and renewed, but that when you have any change in the operation, whether it's outdoor operations, whether it's moving your place, whatever it might be, they need to get back in touch with us at the city and make sure that if there's changes that need to happen for the license, that they're requesting those, and that we don't have to find that kind of stuff out by accident. So, I guess.
Yeah, I think transparency and communication are always a good thing. And I'm certain there are 2 or 3 talking points that the department would like to add to that, as well as, the fact that we are going to be sending staff in to do that. Those type of checks. Maybe a reminder on noise issues that we respond to. But I think there's also things for the clerk's office to communicate. We occasionally run into issues with the posting of licenses and the licensed bartender that's on duty and responsible for the establishment having their license with them as is required. So I think it definitely makes enforcement a lot easier when we're going out of our way to communicate the expectations to them.
I guess if we were going to send out one communication that was just like a, newsletter type reminder to all of our license holders, I guess I could see value in the clerk's office and the PD working together to get the points they want to emphasize in one communication and then send that out. I guess if you guys could work together on that and make sure that the struggles that each of you are encountering gets mentioned to those owners, and that one good letter goes out to remind them that, these things are becoming a problem. Would that work? I mean, is that something your office could handle, Caitlin, with the PD?
Yeah, and I think it's also a great time of year right now. We'll be getting ready to send out all those renewal licenses for the July 1 start date. So we can definitely work together because I do think it is a current problem where the city sometimes is an afterthought when people are trying to get their license to properly be able to sell and serve alcohol in the city, and ways we can work together with the police department to help get that message across.
I think that's helpful, and if the letter could be crafted such that it goes out with the license, that immediately calls attention to the communication too, if you guys could work together on those. Okay. Anything that, committee members, that you've noticed on the report that you have questions on? If not, we'll place the tavern report on file then. And then item number 4 is our community outreach update. We have a hard stop on this meeting at 6 o'clock because there's a joint city council county board meeting at 6:30, but we do have some time. So if we bring up our outreach coordinator, Tracy Durante, she can talk with us. They're 19 days in now to sheltering. And so if she has an update on that and on her cyclical outreach efforts, we would love to hear about it.
Thank you. Well, I believe Gary Feltus is here from Catholic Charities, so that's why you don't see any of their data in this report, because he's going to report that separate. If anyone has any questions about what I did provide, I'm happy to answer those, but I'm guessing that everyone wants to hear a little bit more about the shelter versus anything else.
We would love to hear about how things are going at the
Okay.
shelter, and then we can always bring up Gary to talk about Catholic Charities operations as well as part of your update, if he wants to present his own stats, but talk to us about the shelter.
Sure. So we did successfully open on May 1st. We have seen 85 unduplicated individuals in that shelter since the 1st of May, so that's a pretty high number. 35% of those individuals are women, and about 14% of those individuals, 16% of those individuals are working. So it's going really well. We have not had, knock on wood, we have had nobody get kicked out. We've asked one person to leave for the night. I think overall, we've had a great response from the community, which is exactly what we expected. Our community is very generous, so we have a lot of people in this community to thank for the success of this launch. And, volunteers are there. We're fully staffed. So, I honestly can't think of how it could have gone any more smoothly given the time frame that we had to put it together.
Nice. Committee members, any questions you have for Tracy about the shelter? One thing I will say is that a few days ago, I was asked actually by a media partner whether or not the council has formally toured the shelter. And I guess I will say what I had said to them is that, at least for now, while you guys are getting going and people need to focus on their work and on the business, on the concept of sheltering, I don't know that it's necessarily appropriate to run a 11-person group tour through there and have people be self-conscious. We want the shelter to be a place of hope and help. However, if any council members wish to have a tour or see the operation there, I would welcome them to schedule visits individually, and maybe through you, you'll know the best time.
Sure.
And can work with them on that rather than doing some organized, agendized group outfit. I've had some early discussion of the idea that at some point in the coming weeks, there may be interest from within the council to do a volunteer night and help out at the shelter as a volunteer group. I think that's something that would be important to offer that opportunity to them as a way to give back.
For sure.
So we'll talk about that a little more at a future council meeting, and that I know the chief will want to talk with them about that. But I'm so glad to see that you've had volunteer groups coming in and that they've been doing the meals and that donated items have been coming. And, I don't think we could have asked for a better community response to help us get moving with that. So, and I understand that some of the guests have said that they're grateful for that expanded space.
Yes.
And that, ability to just have a little bit more breathing room in the center and be able to separate, gender things and whatnot. So.
Yes, I will stress that point. I've had a lot of positive feedback from our female population specifically about just how safe they feel being separated in that space. So I just think that was a really important piece of the shelter that we needed to get taken care of, and I'm thankful we did that and had the ability to do that. And then, just hearing from outside employers of people that are using shelter, just a lot of positive feedback on just their overall demeanor and how things are going. So all of those things have not been, accomplished alone. So I just want to publicly thank everybody who has participated in the launch of the shelter and thank everyone for your continued support.
Well, and I think we also want to thank our staff that worked so hard to get it up and running. I think it's important to have a safe place to rest. I know that at one point, one of our media partners had visited with the mayor about that shortly after the shelter opened, and he said, too, that not being properly rested and not feeling safe really does affect every aspect of a person's life and their health and their ability to be productive and be able to work and keep a job and feel like they have, a safe place to put their head down at night is important. So
just
so
have-
grateful for that. Go ahead, Lou.
Boy, I don't know if this is working or not. I just have a question. the YMCA, you know, they had some concerns about homeless hanging around and stuff, and has there been any problems with, any incidents with the YMCA? Because I know the director was here and he expressed concerns about the safety of the children and stuff.
Sure.
And,
Yeah,
Chief
why
address
don't you
that.
let me tackle that one?
Okay.
So when we identified the location where this was going to be open, there are absolutely, and for valid reasons, organizations that expressed concerns. I wish I could tell you that none of those concerns came to fruition, but that's not accurate. There are behaviors with what I would consider to be a small portion of the individuals utilizing our shelter services. Some of it is, and it has impacted the YMCA. We have responded with utilizing the police department staff and reallocated and reprioritized where people are in the hours when people are going to shelter and when the hours when people are leaving shelter in the morning. I believe that's had a positive impact. We haven't had the same issues before. So yes, we've had issues. Yes, we're working through them and using the police department to try and positively impact change. Some of it is just changing behaviors with a group of people and having them understand and value our expectations is always going to be a challenge, and it's something that we're addressing. But we stay in communication with the YMCA on a regular basis about what their issues are and encourage them to reach out to us, and they have done that.
That's helpful, I think.
Thank you.
I think also I've heard that our two assigned downtown officers have been working through some of them, as well as trying to emphasize that area, like you said, during the day. I think that as people get acclimated to a new location, I think I had heard that Deputy Chief Baton had visited the shelter and talked with some of the guests who were understanding and really grateful for that expanded space and the opportunity to have that space. And then understanding that there needs to be some sensitivity to the neighbors in the neighborhood too. So that's a big positive. I think just to be able to network with the guests and then also network with local businesses so that if there are concerns, that you have the opportunity to address those things before they become a negative. And, you know, my hope is that the shelter operation that is taking place from now until the end of the year really be a positive thing that Wausau can celebrate. It's a collaboration between the city and the county, which we are incredibly grateful for. I'm excited to see that happen. But I also think that it is going to be a place of hope where I want to be able to, at the end of that process, know that lives were impacted and likely saved by that operation and by the time and the heart that's been invested into that facility by the people that created it and by the people that operate it. So I think we can see, I think at the end of that, we're going to have some things to celebrate, positive impacts that have been made for people who needed the impact. So committee members, do you have any other comment on the outreach effort or the shelter program?
Can I just have one
Absolutely.
more minute?
For
So
sure.
I'll be doing this again at our next meeting, but since we might have people watching this, and this is like my thank you component, so I have a list. So this wouldn't have any chance of success if it not for all the volunteers and community members who have been supportive. Greeby's, Furniture and Appliance Mart, numerous local restaurants, Abbey Bank, Covantage, People State Bank, the Home Depot, Incredible Bank, St. Andrew Lutheran Church, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, and St. Vincent de Paul. So that's what I have on my list right now, and I just wanted to publicly thank them for their support.
It's excellent. And I see that the shelter does have its own Facebook presence where they are posting like their rolling list of like needs if people want to donate stuff, where to donate, what the needs are, so people know what to go get and so that their efforts are not necessarily duplicated. So I think that communication is good too, just so people that want to help know how to help and where they can pitch in. So good things happening there. So thank you for that update. Gary, do you have a brief update on behalf of Catholic Charities that you want to present quickly? Sure. We have 14 minutes.
I certainly won't take that long.
Welcome.
Thank you. I think after this month, anything that you want different from me, just let me know. Just communicate to me so that we can make this seamless. I think you've seen the numbers. So what I did was I gave a first quarter report, and that data came out of Clarity, which actually it's a 34-page report. That is through the Balance of State Continuum of Care Coordinated Entry, which I think is really important to the homeless population because it connects them with the whole state. In other words, if someone wanted to move from here to up near Lake Superior, as long as they have supportive services, we could honor that and get them there. I did see some of the graphs here by Tracy, so maybe I could fill in some of the gaps. The unhoused data by organization for the month of April, Good Shepherd Shelter had 89. And the daily census would have been 28.6 guests per day for April. Daily turnaways for April was 1.7 per day on average. And I did want to point out, there's an asterisk on page 3 that said it is important to note that the Good Shepherd Shelter does reserve beds for individuals that are working. When individuals do not show for their bed saves, it results in a shelter not reaching their 30-bed capacity for the night. That is not true. If someone is not there by 7 o'clock, they're a no-call, no-show, we do offer beds to other guests. So I just
No,
wanted
but
to,
at this point, starting with May 1st, you are not sheltering at night, right? During the warm months, you'll be back to that during the winter,
correct.
right? Okay,
Yep, yep.
okay. Thank you for that clarification.
You bet. And then the other thing we are doing, I did send this into the packet, but I didn't see it in there. So we are offering some summer services to help out with laundry and showers. So on Mondays and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I should get this emailed out to a lot of the organizations because we have a sign-up genius that we're using for showers and laundry that is actually working quite well.
Good.
So yes, the laundry is going to be a drop-off, and of course showers. We've got 4 showers available. We do have timers on them in case we have a lot of people.
Sure.
But we give them ample amount of time. So
Nice. I think all of us working together to whatever end is certainly helpful, so we're thankful for that as well.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone have questions for Gary about anything happening there? If not, we'll place your report on file. Feel free to submit that data monthly. We'll welcome that anytime you want to stop.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And I think
I could just add one more thing, Lisa. If
Sure.
people are unable to join the joint meeting in person tonight, it will be live streamed and available on the county's YouTube channel, not the
Okay.
city's tonight.
Okay, sounds good. With that, we're out of agenda items, so I will take a motion to adjourn, and that'll allow those who are going over to UW to head that way.
To adjourn.
Motion from Watson, is there a second? Second from Lukens. Members in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? No one's ever opposed to adjournment. Thanks, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you over at the next meeting.